All right, gang. We're going to try it old school and see if Be Live behaves itself tonight because, quite frankly, this is our third trip down the, walkway trying to get hitched. And we keep getting stood up at the altar with this thing. So hopefully it works this time. All right, Ellis. Let's pick up where we left off, sir. No, actually, you know what? Because this is a brand new broadcast and because we don't have the luxury of having everybody there, let's just start from the top, right?
Yeah.
So, folks, real quickly, since, many of you guys didn't have the opportunity to see us, so let me get Ellis back on here. Since you guys didn't get a chance to see us because the stupid Be Live was breaking down on us, this show is going to be several-fold. We're going to be talking about our experience at the Green Party annual meeting, pontificating. We're going to be talking about getting a Green New Deal done, whether it be a Green New Deal or just a New Deal or what. We're going to be talking about third-party politics and the difference between the UK and the United States. And we're going to be discussing some very, very sad truths that we're up against as we try to make this happen. All right. So without further ado, Ellis was in the process of explaining.
Pontificating.
All right. Yes, indeed. Pontificating. Ellis, go back to pontificating, my friend.
There is a man named Barry Eidman, and he's a PhD, and he wrote this paper. He did this research paper that published in the American Sociology Review last year. And he sought to answer the question, why is there no equivalent Labour Party in the US like there is in the UK? And he used an advanced articulation model for this. And what he found was very interesting. In Canada and the US, Labour and farmers, basically the left, had no representation, no political voice from the ruling parties at the time. And then right about at the Great Depression, around 1931-35, something changed in the US that did not change in Canada. What happened in the US was FDR began paying lip service to Labour and the farmers, okay? And basically, he started saying things like appealing to their emotion, like saying that we need to look after the lost man, the forgotten man, and he was talking about Labour and the farmer and whatnot. And for the first time, Labour in the US, the left in the US, thought that maybe someone cared enough to give them a voice and recognize them. And FDR told them that the Democratic Party was their home. See? And the Democratic Party began introducing policy like the Wagner Act and things like that, which convinced a great bloc of the left, Labour and farmers, to move into the Democratic Party as it was their home. You see, they treated it as though it were their new home. And when they did that, the Democratic Party effectively undermined the left in the US. But in Canada, the exact opposite occurred. In Canada, the ruling parties took a very aggressive stance towards Labour and farmers and the left, okay? And this allowed for the left, Labour and farmers, to join a coalition with the CCF over there. And it became a viable third party. And now there was a Labour Party in Canada, and it became what's called the new Democratic Party, I believe, in Canada, is what the name of it is now. But the reason why we don't have one in the US is because FDR and the Democratic Party undermined Labour's ability to coalesce and form a third party, which would have threatened a duopoly, creating a three-party system. And in this paper, he also makes pains to explain that there's nothing legal, nothing natural or anything that says that the US must have a two-party system. And there could have very well been a three-party system, American Labor Party, as that powerful third party, had the Democrats not absorbed the left during the Great Depression, convinced them to join up. And how they did it was real simple. They had a little roach motel. Okay, I'm not saying that labor and farmers are roaches. I'm just using this as an analogy. And the roaches, they come up to the roach motel the Democratic Party set up for them. And you know what happens? When the roaches check in, they don't check out, right? Okay, well, in better terms, we could say that the Democratic Party is the Borg, okay, and was the Borg at this time, still is, by the way. And what it did was it convinced the left, rather than face the left and the threat of a viable third party, an American Labor Party, okay, rather than face that threat, it decided it would be to its best advantage to absorb it. And that way you could win support, vast support, for the New Deal that Roosevelt wanted to do. So the more people, the merrier there, right? So the board came along and they said, lower your shields and surrender your weapons, labor and farmers, okay? Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile, you know, come on, this is your home. And so when they got a hold of labor and the farmers, the board put them down there and they began working on the brains, right? And over the course of many, many years now, from back then all the way right up until Clinton and beyond, the left has been droned into a cultish nightmare, so to speak, of propaganda that's been spit out by the Democratic Party. So, you know, labor went from being an organized force, a threat, to more complacent, and it just believes everything the Democratic Party says. And then when, you know, the New Democrats came along in 1993 with Bill Clinton, and they changed everything, that neoliberalism finally absorbed the party completely. What happened was the mind of the left that was in the Democratic Party and supporting the party at the time just sort of said, yeah, deficits are bad. And so there was a new traditional prejudice in the Democratic Party, you know, because Reagan ran deficits, that's trickle down. Okay, get it? Trickle down. Deficit spending is trickle down. So we just do the opposite of what the GOP does. We slash deficits. We go for a surplus, okay? And so what happens is you get up until, you know, this Hillary Clinton come along in this last election. You've got this new traditional prejudice in the Democratic Party that says deficits are bad, right? Well, you know, suddenly Hillary comes along and she defeats Bernie's chances. So the heart of the left was still there all these years in the Democratic Party, from FDR and the Great Depression all the way through to today, right? The heart was there. But the brain, the brain had been modified from all those years, you know, and with Clinton, with Bill Clinton and the neoliberal attitudes, become totally awash in nonsense. So when they did their little Dem exit, and the left Dem exited, they head for the Dem exit door, they walk out screaming, we need a third party. I'm done with the Democratic Party. You heard them? You saw them with their fists in the air. It's all over. To hell with the Democratic Party. But what did they have in their brains? They had those traditional neoliberal prejudices still up there in their brains. In other words, it's just like walking out of a cult. They walked out of a cult and they know that they've escaped it. But they really don't know what to do because their thinking is still rooted in what the Democratic Party has said. These prejudices. And they can't get over them. And we see them in what happened to Steve. Yeah? We see something similar there. We see these prejudices about economics, about federal spending, right? We see them sitting there. Those neoliberal prejudices are well ingrained. And though they think they're left and they're powerful, what are they? They're just awash in neoliberalism. Eh? And so it causes them to close their ears when someone like Steve speaks on MMT. So I think it goes, the paper though, that's just my little thought process there, but the paper itself is very compelling, and it can help if there were further studies. It could help to explain much as to why the left today is so resistant to forming what is the equivalent of a Labour Party in the US, like the equivalent of a UK Labour Party in the US. It would go to explain a lot why the left can't unify. You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm going to provide a link to the paper, and maybe go with the thing at the end of this, so that you guys can get a look at it. It's not written in any kind of a language you couldn't understand. and it'll basically say the same thing I just said in 29 pages, but it's pretty compelling research. So I think you should give a look at it.
So, Ellis, obviously, I have a bad taste in my mouth, but my taste in my mouth is irrelevant because the people that did show up and pay attention actually are the foot soldiers that I'm hoping will work tooth and nail to, get rid of leadership that doesn't listen, that has biases that are religious based, that cannot articulate away. Because here's the most irresponsible aspect of this. And I'm just going to break this down. And if it offends anybody, I'm used to it and you're used to it. So let's just agree to be offended, right? The bottom line is that any kind of delay, any kind of nonsensical delay in achieving a Green New Deal, if you understand the factors that go into that big-ass piece of ice breaking off in Antarctica, any of these ideas, the orphan politics of the left in the United States that don't have any clue how to pay for it, marching in place, feverishly pumping their fists and getting nowhere. That same left was very, very present at the Green Party National Annual Meeting. And it's that fear of success, okay? It's like they love the struggle, but the idea of winning seems almost like anathema. Like they don't want to win because it would ruin who they are. They are defined by the struggle. And we're offering hope, and that doesn't match with the struggle. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so as we're sitting there looking at this, I'm saying to myself, if you throw up roadblocks, we got to end the Fed before we can do anything. We got to green the dollar on top of it with the Need Act before we can do anything. We can't do it because the debt is unsustainable. 20 trillion in debt. All the other nonsense that they got in there. Every bit of that. If you are an environmental activist, if you study the environment, if you care about climate change, etc., and you saw that massive piece of iceberg break off from Antarctica, and you think that we've got time to seize the means of production, we've got time to end the Fed, we've got time to green the dollar, then we've got time to pontificate. Mind you, we've got to overcome the Republican Party, we've got to overcome the Democratic Party, etc., before we ever get to a Green New Deal. If that is the answer that they are putting out there, and it is, sadly. They don't say it that way, but if you're a project manager, and that's what I do for a living, and you lay out the dependencies and the timeline, okay, so you're telling me we got to marshal enough energy to end the Fed and green the dollar. Then you look at the timeline, you say, okay, when are we going to start working on this Green New Deal? Oh, well, that's later because we can't do any of that until we do this because the debt. That is immoral, in my opinion. That right there saying, hey, we got this Fed-ish, and we're going to go ahead and execute our Fed-ish while the planet around us becomes uninhabitable. That's the bottom line. Oh, and by the way, you folks out there who have all these health problems, in order for us to have sovereign money to do these things, we've got to end the Fed-ish, and we've got to green the dollar, and we got to do all these things before we can get you any of that stuff. Now, when you start looking at the logical fallacies here, and you understand that not only is MMT accurate, not only is MMT verifiably true, but MMT also enables us to do all the things that they claim to want to do now, without ending the Fed, without greening the dollar, without doing any other bullshit. So one tactic is saving lives now. The other is fist in the air for the struggle. And it's like, hey, we fought the good fight. We didn't win. We'll get them next time. Hey, we fought the good fight. We didn't get them. We'll do it next time. And it's a self-perpetuating, hey, we get to live in the struggle. It's fun. And I'm telling you right now, folks, what we're offering you is verifiable truth. And we've shown it to you countless times. So this idea of marrying up with the Jeremy Corbyn Labor Party of the world in the United States is extremely appealing to me, Now, I support the Draft Bernie team. I hope to God they're able to be successful pulling people out of the Democratic Party. But if they're not, and more importantly, if they don't decide to embrace and revel and shove and push MMT, they're not going to be of any use to me either. Same with the Progressive Independent Party. I support them big time. But if they don't embrace and fully support and activate and push MMT, they're not going to be able to do any of this stuff either. And the world does not have time to play end the Fed games. So unless we get on board here and we really, really focus, it may be time to start a New Deal Labor Party in America. What do you think, Ellis?
Well, you just call it Labor, Labor US, or just the Labor Party, which is just an extension of the UK Labor Party. And you work in the spirit of brotherly love with the Labour Party in the UK. It's really that simple. But like I said, we need a new left, all right? One that's not going to be able to be absorbed by the Borg through promises and ass kissing and all that and brown nosing. One that's determined to organize, and organize by simply adopting everything that the old left stands for, okay, with MMT at the core. And when you do that, you'll have a unified left that could threaten a duopoly at some point in time and actually turn the US into a three-party system, not a two-party system, okay? That's just my thoughts on it. We need something on the equivalent of a Labour Party here in the US like they have in the UK, because there's no other way. The Democratic Party is the centrist party of the US. The Republican Party is the right wing. We need a left party. You see? It's really, Labour Party, simple and sweet. Exactly, the Labour Party, the Labour Party. End of story,
Spelling it wrong, though, Ellis. She's spelling it wrong.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I'll just play it.
It just doesn't matter. Well, it does to me, but it doesn't. Okay? The issue is real simple, is that Labour encompasses everything that we set out to do, from a job guarantee to green energy, to sustainable production, to infrastructure, to education. It's all related to labor, the 99%, the working man and woman. That's it. So one name encompasses the entire thing. And what you were saying about the Green Party earlier, after I mentioned that paper about them up there, well, they talk about they want this Green New Deal. But like I said in the previous video, before the Rothschilds shut us down, that I don't believe that green leadership really wants a Green New Deal. I don't think they want to win. I think what they want to do is make the Green Party a viable threat to the Democratic Party, to force the Democratic Party to change. And that's it. So they can go back home. I think they're squatting, is what I'm telling you. Like Blairites squat in labor over in the UK.
Let me tell you what I think, Alice, and I'm serious. This is from listening, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to pay really close attention, and it's not hard to pick up. But there's two running narratives. You hear them constantly talking about, well, I'm a revolutionary. I'm a straight up revolutionary, right? I'm ready. I'm not here to reform it. I'm here to freaking kill that beast, and I'm ready to create a new one, right? So while you're busy tearing it down, there's no possible way to be building up a Green New Deal while you're tearing it down. There is no Green New Deal happening if you're a straight up ripping it down nihilist.
That's what I mean. They just want to spend their time destroying the Democratic Party. Yep. Or hoping it will change. It's just not going to change. It might pay lip service to the Green Party. It might pay lip service to Amy Rosenthal and James there. All right? It might pay lip service to you, Steve, and every working man and woman alive. But you know what? They're lying. They just want to assimilate you. They just want to draw you back so that you don't cause any more trouble. Okay? And, if you're right there, and the Green leadership doesn't get this, I mean, that speaks a lot about their intelligence and their decision-making skill. I mean, seriously, this is the enemy. If you're serious about making the Green Party a viable threat and initiating the Green New Deal, you have to go straight to the public and say, this is what we intend to do right now today, and this is how we're going to pay for it. But they don't. They spend time talking about revolution and bringing the pitchforks out and attacking a Democratic Party and bringing her down. And along with the Democratic Party, they got to bring the Fed down. Okay? They got to bring a lot of things down. It's just going to take a bit. It's going to take a lot of time. And I think it's very important that we note the Federal Reserve itself, okay? I don't know any other, I've said this for, I don't know, 1,000 times, hundreds of other people have said this a million times already. The Federal Reserve is just an obsolete organization, okay? It's not even necessary because Treasury could do what it's doing right now, okay? It literally does not do fiscal policy. It doesn't control the money supply and we're all going to die. It's not a private corporation. It's not a private bank. Okay? It's just this obsolete, bloated, old, stupid-ass organization with a bunch of neoliberals on the board of governors that don't know their asshole from their elbow. You know, simple. Okay? So it's not really a threat. The threat is Congress. And I find it very difficult to understand why, if Green Party leadership is fighting to put people in Congress, why it cannot understand that Congress is the problem to begin with. Isn't that why you're running candidates for election to the House and Senate? Isn't that why you're doing that? Because Congress needs to change? Congress is the problem. Stop blaming unelected entities. Blame yourselves because it's your fault. It's Congress's fault. That means it's all of our fault. So we've got to change Congress. All right? And once we're done and you got prosperity going, you want to talk about rolling the Fed into the Treasury? Hey, fine by me. Fine by me. Roll them in. All right? Roll it in and get rid of all this nonsense. But like I said in an earlier program, the Rothschilds conspiracy theorists, they're just going to say, aha, now the plan is complete. They control the U.S. Treasury. So, exactly. You're never going to stop this nonsense.
I said that, I think, actually, not during my presentation. Maybe I did do it. I don't think I did, though. I think I said it afterwards, though. Yeah. And, this guy who had the standard bushy eyebrows that need to be trimmed, etc., sat there and was trying to talk to me about this stuff. And I said, listen, dude, for real. I really don't care who the scorekeeper is, because as Warren Mosler says, the Fed's nothing more than the scorekeeper. Okay? If you want to take that to the Treasury, fine. But don't you dare allow one person to die while you fetishize the Fed. Okay? Don't you dare allow one person to die from a lack of health care because you've changed your focus from getting Medicare for all, or better yet, a national health service that completely takes care of our needs as opposed to some sort of a single payer health care plan. Okay. We need to save lives. And I don't focus as much on this as I should, but damn it, that environment, man, when you look at that piece of ice breaking off, that should be terrifying to people. That alone should cause us to say, wait a minute, hold on. I don't care about who the man is. I just need to make sure we can retrofit the smokestacks, retrofit the cars, change out whatever, move to green energy today, etc. But instead, it's like, but wait a minute, what about the rich? Well, you're not going to care about the rich if there's no planet to inhabit, snapperhead. And so it's like, what do you do? What do you do? How do you impose upon these people that you either are A, worried about the environment that is collapsing as we speak, or B, you want to seize the means of production first, you want to take down the man, you want to Robin Hood eat the rich, you want to do all this other shit. And at some point in time, those deleted tax dollars will amount to what? Nothing? This is extremely frustrating.
So face it, Steve. Let's just face it. They're only interested in tearing things down, not building anything up.
That's right.
It. That's it. That's the end of it. They're there to tear things down, not build them up. All right? That's it. They have no interest in doing this. So, it behooves people who understand and who are ready and willing and able to get out there and make change and actually do the things that need to be done. Basically, the New Deal, completing the Roosevelt Revolution. Then, we need to organize. We need to organize rapidly, and we need to fight back. All right, and if they don't want to come along, then so be it. Leave them to sit there in their little orphanage and cry. But we don't have time for that.
No, I mean, that right there, I mean, Ellis, I do this, I've said this so many times. But, I spent all day today, for example, with Mr. Butters, my little boy. And, I looked at him and all I could think of was, damn it, I really want to make sure he has a good quality of life and that he inherits an America that is far greater and far better than the one that I'm inhabiting today. That's all I could think about. I don't care about ripping and replacing. I care about saving lives today, okay? But there is I don't want to call it even ideological fetish. It's almost like a religion. The struggle is the religion. And it's like, my God, what would I do if I wasn't struggling?
Yeah.
And maybe it is time for a new left. Maybe it is time.
No, it is. It's been time for years. The time for the new left came when Clinton was elected president. And people just didn't recognize that. And now, after a financial crisis, that was interesting that this came up. I saw a comment on one of my posts. I forget who it was. We said, what you really need to get change around here is we need a crisis to bounce off of. And you know what? We had one. It's the global financial crisis, and it's still not recovered. We've still not recovered from it. All right. So there's your crisis. You need to act. We need to act. Part of that action is not being willing and courageous enough to say, I don't care what the Democratic Party tries to sell us. I don't care who they put in charge. I don't care who runs the DNC, and I don't care who they run for president. I'm not voting for them. I'm not going back. It's just that simple. We need to organize. We need a new left that's not willing to be assimilated, that will not allow itself to be assimilated, but will coalesce into a powerful force to challenge the Democratic and Republican parties.
I think that, it's awful difficult in the United States, unlike the rest of the world, quite frankly, to build a third party. David Cobb was very eloquent, quite frankly, in describing the challenges that the electoral process has and the building of parties outside the duopoly has. And they've got a lot of really good ideas when it comes to democratizing our nation again in terms of getting folks involved.
Right.
And so there's challenges no matter how you do this. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that people, when they realize they can't answer the question, how are you going to pay for it, that they stop being obtuse and they stop being, chicken shit, quite frankly. Chicken shit. Little babies. Oh, he hurt my feelings, so I can't listen to MMT now. I really am sick and tired of people. It's like they're okay with any form of activism. They're okay running around yelling about Cittadini. They're willing to run around and badmouth this and that and the other. But damn it, when we talk about people saying right-wing myths that keep us all stuck in economics, suddenly we are pontificating, or we are mean, or oh no, he's mean. He's a meanie. It's like, God damn it, when did everybody curl up and turn into like this little soft baby doll? It's like, show me on the doll where it hurts. Where does my MMT advocacy hurt you? Does it hurt right here? Is this on the doll where it hurts? I mean, this is the kind of nonsense. It's like, guys, you say you're a straight up revolutionary, but you can't handle hearing somebody who's fired up, ready to fight, ready to make shit happen. That hurts your feelings. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't get it. I do not get it at all.
Let them be. Leave them to stew in a pit of their own filth. All right. I'm just not going to walk into the tar pit and sink into quicksand with them. They can do what they want.
Hell
right?
No. Exactly.
It's time for us to build an army, and when I say that, I mean a party. that is going to challenge neoliberalism, which basically means challenging both two parties, to turn the country into a three-party system. There is no point in overcoming the Democratic Party and installing a third party as a major second party. The whole thing is to just go three-party, and then a four-party system and five-party system, until, there's no problem like this anymore. And yeah, there are challenges, but there are also ways to challenge those challenges too. Like we were talking not too long ago, you can run candidates for the House or for the Senate. And, you need like 435 for the House or 100 for the Senate that are MMT people that are willing to be loud during the campaigns. And that will spread MMT like the friggin' common cold, because it's hard to ignore. And the idea is not exactly to win. The idea is to spread the message, to spread education, you see. So it's just become even more significant threat.
Yeah, it doesn't. One of the things that I was thinking about, Ellis, quite frankly, is that as we look at the up and coming efforts of the Progressive Independent Party and Draft Bernie for a People's Party, there's a whole lot of, hey, let the people decide. And Joe Firestone has got the that Reinventing Democracy platform that they're working on with Nancy Portier, et cetera. Right. So there's a lot of emphasis on building from the bottom up. Right. But the concern here is, and this is a very, very grave concern, there is a time when lay people should have a big voice and should really, really be able to step up and have their voice heard. But all opinions are not equal when it comes to economics. This is not like saying, hey, I think I know MMT today, or I think I know economics. How do you know that? Well, I slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I'm in pretty good shape to talk about this. And that to me is a problem, because you see these people, and this is terrifying to me, folks. Folks, this is like super terrifying to me. People that don't understand the economics we're talking about, somehow or another, because of their ego or fragility or whatever, get really, really triggered, is the word I've heard, or put off when they hear people speak with authority, when they hear people speak with conviction and confidence. That really bothers them, especially, and I hate to say this, a male doing it in today's environment. There's an entire push that says I'm triggering people, which is ridiculous. The information I'm saying should be so easily accessible. What is it that you don't want? You don't want student debt relief. You don't want to get rid of student loans. You don't want to end the suffering of the kids coming out. That somehow or another triggers you. Interesting. You don't want to make it so that we have a national healthcare service and free healthcare, right? That triggers you somehow or another. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh, you want to suffer and struggle. You don't want to succeed and win. I got it. Full stop. I don't understand it, but I got it. That's what I'm hearing. Can you transcribe that, Ellis? Because it's really, really hurting my feels. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I can. I don't know if you can see my hands, but can you put some nails through the wrist and hang me on a cross, please? I want to be a Messiah. I want to suffer like the Messiah. Nail me up upside down. I want to suffer for the movement. Give me a fucking break, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just stupid. It's just idiotic. I would rather suffer and struggle than do something that might threaten my suffering and struggling. I mean, would they get triggered if Stephanie Kelton came on and told them this with authority? Would that trigger them? I mean, they can't handle all the males, and how about a female? Would that trigger them? Would they have to see the psychiatrist, get some more medication?
I don't know. All I know is, Ellis, that it's like there is a real serious pain in my heart when I see the wimpuses. I mean, we're talking about utter. It's like, hey, follow us into revolution, but I can't handle you being so harsh, Steve. But I'm ready for revolution, damn it. But you're pontificating. You're hurting my feels. What? It's like, are you flipping kidding me? So my elbow of truth bothers you, or me going, Rothschilds hurts your feelings.
That's like Eugene V. Debs standing up and saying, I stand against any system where a man can earn $500 million when an average man can barely earn enough to eke out a meager existence. But don't say anything that might hurt my feelings or I'll have to quit. Yeah. All right. Can you imagine Che Guevara, right? The Cuban guerrilla leader? Okay, we're going to take Havana. No, you hurt my feelings. I quit. No, I'm going to have los plátanos now and some picadillo. I quit. I quit. No, you're hurting me. You are hurting me. Stop. Oh, my heart, she bleeds. I have to go. Give me a fuck. What the fuck? Where's the spine, man? You're like, I'm the spineless progressive. I'm here to incite a revolution. I mean, what the fuck? I have no spine. Come here. What is this? What is this cowardly nonsense? You're triggering me. You're triggering me. You sound like one of those fucking liberals from the fucking Democratic Party. Is like, give me my latte. He's triggering me. What the fuck?
Well,
it's just federal spending and how it works. Oh, you're triggering me. Give me a croissant.
I had an alternate theory, and your theory is just a theory. Just a theory. Just a theory. Just a theory. Hey, jump out of that window because gravity, theory of relativity, general relativity. Go ahead and do a jump. If you don't believe in theories are scientific. I mean, they're repeatable. They're observable. And yet people, what, Wesley? Say stupid stuff, and it's like it's just a theory, and it's like
it's silly. I mean, I can understand to some degree if what they're saying is the way you're presenting it is turning off people. It's turning off progressives because they feel offended that you're offending them. They're offended that you're offending them, and if you want them to join up, you have to be nicer about it. Okay, so then you're nicer about it, let us say. And all you get in response is, well, you're a pontificating jackass who's talking down to people and telling people that your opinion is reality and you know more than everybody else. And we don't like that, so we can't join up with you. We've already got our own orphanage over here. I mean, it's not going to do any good. So here's the thing. Rather than worrying about offending people like this or hurting people's feelings like this, it's best to just no longer acknowledge them. All right? Just forget that they exist and concentrate on people who are willing to affect change, who demand a change. Poor people who are desperate, who are struggling, who are homeless or who are on the verge of becoming homeless or becoming unemployed or are unemployed or on welfare, the African American community. The Spanish American community, we've got all of these communities here. Most of them are oppressed. Most of them are in poverty, generational poverty. They need help. They want solutions. They're tired. Reach out to these people. I'm sorry. Reach out to these people and ignore these. Oh, well, you're triggering me. Oh, I'm sorry. Have a croissant. Here's a latte and go shut the fuck up. Okay? Yeah, go sit in the corner and shut the fuck up. Because you're irrelevant. You're as irrelevant as the 1% if you're going to be like that. Okay? You're irrelevant to anyone's prosperity. You're obviously not interested in doing a goddamn thing. So I'm going to ignore you now. I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence. And the louder you talk, I'm just going to have these headphones on that muffle. I can't hear you. I see your lips moving. Now I'm putting on these glasses so I can't see you either. I'm going over here where people need my help and they're asking me for help. I'm going to lift the African American community in this nation out of poverty forever. Amen. I'm going to end all the problems. I'm going to create a situation where Mexicans who have come here and are now citizens or are living here legally, yes, do not have to worry anymore about poverty. And those that are here illegally are welcome if they're coming here for asylum. Just say, we need help, we need protection, we're here for asylum. Granted, come. Okay? I'm going to fix all this. I don't have time for your triggering. Okay? Done with that. If you want to play these I don't know, what would you call these games? These spineless little games. It's all about me. It's all about me. I'm very selfish. It's all about me. I'm very fragile. My spine, it is made of crystal. Okay, good. Then you go sit in a fucking dark corner, motherfucker. You just sit there in your styrofoam packaging so that you don't shatter that crystal fucking spine of yours. All right? Because I'm going to go out and make a difference. And I'm going to speak to people who need help and who are willing. You go up and say, are you poor? Yes. Do you wish that you had a job at a living wage with great benefits? I'd kill for that. Would you join up with me if I could offer you that? Oh, yeah. You know, you got to work for it. You're going to have to go out there and help affect change. Hey, I'll do anything. You know, you go to those communities, you fire them up. You get them angry. You get them excited. You get them revved up. Do you look at Bernie sometimes, the old footages of Bernie, filling these gigantic auditoriums, these gigantic stadiums, filled with people who are angry and they're ready for action? What makes you think that we can't do that? What makes you think that we cannot do that with with communities of white Americans, of African Americans, of Jewish, of all backgrounds, Native Americans that are all oppressed and they're tired? A working class that is tired of oppression and poverty, that are willing to fight back and coalesce and unify and form a Labor Party that will successfully challenge the duopoly and will win.
That's right.
Okay, so I think we just go that way. I'll just ignore these whiny little crystal-spined people, and I'm going to move on over. And I'm going to deal with people who want help. And if that triggers you too, then guess what? That's proof right there. That is prima facie evidence that you don't care about change at all.
Yep. You know, this is the thing, right? Economics has no emotion to it whatsoever. It just is, right? This is economics. What we do with the political economy.
The analysis has no emotion. It's agnostic.
It's agnostic. It just is. It is, right? And so here we are as we try to explain the results and give the assessment, etc. And rather than embrace the fact that we can live, we can survive, we can keep the planet inhabitable, etc., the jellyfish spines of the world sit there and focus on microaggressions and, oh, you're triggering me and all this other nonsense. The reality is it's a shutdown argument, okay? Because once someone's triggered, once somebody cries foul, then you can't talk economics anymore. Now you've offended them. Now you've got to be more sensitive. Now whatever, right? And this is the problem. People that don't care about economics don't sit there and study economics. They go ahead and they talk. I mean, have you ever noticed how non-econ people have all these like grand proclamations about what the problem is? It's all these groups that are doing it, right? They don't have any concept of the economics or how it got to be. They just know that that's the way it is. And it's like in 5 minutes on the toilet, I can come up with the answer for all these major problems. And then I'm going to speak boldly about it, and that's going to be the answer. And if you dare defy me, I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be very offended and upset because my toilet logic seems so superior to your actual facts and stuff.
No, you don't have facts, Stephen. You just have opinions, and that's you're pontificating. I have facts. What I believe is reality, and when I lecture on it, I'm not pontificating. Come on. If you accuse me of pontificating, you're going to trigger me. Please be careful.
All right, so let's get to something that we wanted to talk about, and that is one of the big concerns that came out of the Green Party presentation was the concept of private credit and the concept of banks are lending this stuff out there to corporations. And so you have a different thing for credit building for production and credit versus consumption.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that, Ellis.
That's real simple. Bank credit is an alternative to federal spending. Okay. So if you're going to reduce, I've said this before, if you're going to reduce the deficit, people are going to starve, people are going to lose their jobs, but most importantly, on the macroeconomic level, this is what we're talking about here. the functions on the macroeconomic level of the economy, what's going to happen is consumer spending is going to collapse without deficit spending and without anything taking its place. It's going to collapse, and when consumers stop spending, business will enter a cycle where it will have surplus workers and low production demands. It's going to get rid of those workers. It's going to shed those excess labor, that excess labor. They're going to become unemployed, and as unemployment rises, a recession will occur. Okay, so you've got to do something to keep consumer spending going. Consumer spending will be the consumption of what's being produced. So you allow bank loans to take the place of federal spending. And when you do that, consumer spending can continue for a time till people can't take on any more debt, and then you get a downturn when they stop spending. Okay, so the actual idea for a more stable economy, what we need to be thinking in terms of, more in terms of, is using bank credit for production needs. In other words, lending to business to expand the production. Okay, and then relying mostly on government spending to consume what is produced. You see, what we're doing today is we're not only lending for production, we're also lending for speculative behavior, and we're also lending to consume production. Lend, all the time, slashing the federal deficit. You see, and this is an unsustainable course that will eventually it'll eventually end up in another financial crisis at some point, but definitely a recession. So some of the countries already in a recession, and has been for a while. You just can't feel it yet because it's going to spread.
Well, let me tell you, folks aren't paying attention to this, and I guess that maybe I wish we had Mike Norman around for this, because Mike pulls those reports daily. But the reality is that you look around at the inflows and the outflows of the federal government, and I'm watching, and Trump has got a minor, like a $200 billion deficit going, and the Democrats are already freaking out about it. You even had the Young Turks on their bad-mouthing deficits, okay? See, this is how this us versus them shit destroys our country, okay? Because Paul Krugman, who is an asshole that genuinely despises the country, sits there when Democrats are in power, says that deficits are good. Then when Republicans are in power, suddenly says deficits are bad. Now, to be fair, not all deficits are created equal. But the flip side here is that they make no effort whatsoever to be purveyors of information or truth. They are literally con men selling the narrative of the Democratic Party. And they're not even trying to sell the truth so that we as Americans can make the kind of decisions we need to make based on the knowledge that we need to have. This is accessible. The sectoral balances are out there. You can clearly see that we have not spent enough into the economy. State governments are going belly up right now. State governments are dead broke. They've got tons of federal mandates that are unfunded liabilities. They have got tons of stuff that is bankrupting the states. And yet you sit there and you watch these people not care about this stuff, and they're going down like friggin' you wouldn't believe. And so, like in the state of Pennsylvania, you're talking about, I've said it many times, a $600 million budget deficit right now. It may even be larger than that. And that's huge. And so you start looking around and you start asking yourself, what's going to get cut first? Who's going to start getting their head chopped off? And then people start paying attention to, hey, it hurts, I got laid off, it hurts. They don't care about the economics underlying it and why the states are drowning and dying and why we don't have these services and why they're just worried about getting triggered. When you see it, you're like, oh my God, I'm watching. Hey, Captain, iceberg ahead, ding, 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 ding. Fix this thing, man. Fix it, God, fix it, please. And what do? You're triggering me. You're triggering me. You're triggering me. You're upsetting me. This is the opposition. This is not just forget them. This is what we're up against with people that can make the changes, that can actually help us advance the cause. We need massive amounts of people, and they're too worried about their precious fucking feelings. I mean, serious, it's a heart attack. The states are going to go belly up because they definitely depend on the spending of the federal government. And you can clearly see in the non-currency issuing states, okay, you can clearly see the ones that are net importers versus the ones that are net exporters, and you can clearly see which ones are tanking and which ones are surviving, and the race to the bottom, because those other states are busy slashing their taxes to try and lure businesses to them because the federal government has set up this dog-eat-dog world. And it's killing us.
The federal government has, in other words, through neoliberalism's infestation of Congress, basically what it's done is it's set up the illusion that a free market exists, and the government's helpless, and we need to rely on the free market. And so that's why you see the states behaving in the way they do, with the tax cuts trying to get business, because they believe that business, is the job creator and and all that shit. But business is just as dependent on the U.S. government to deficit spend as the states are. Everybody's in the same fucking boat. So until people decide to hold Congress liable for this, responsible for this, you understand? This stupidity is just going to continue. Congress has to be held accountable. They have to change course. They have to expand the deficit for full employment and the public purpose. That is the only way out of this mess. There's no other way. All right? It's just no other way.
Well, so, I want to tell the folks that are watching, and folks, by the way, thank you so much for riding with us. You're the wind beneath our wings, quite literally. We are bringing this to you because we trust that you want change. We trust that you want success. We trust that you actually mean what you say when you put your fist in the air, okay? And that it's not like some sparkle show pony that, just kind of fits in there with the pussy hats and going out there, yeah, woo, woo. Hey, can I have a double latte, right? I mean, we're hoping that you really, it would be great if you all didn't have to experience pain to get this. It would be wonderful if you didn't have to have your entire life ripped out from you in order to care about this. But sadly, many really require that. And I'll be honest with you, my conversion from being a right-winger to where I am today came with two key factors. Number one, I lost everything. And number two, I learned MMT. You put the two together, and there's no way that you're going to stay in that world any longer. Because once the veil is lifted, you're no longer willing to settle for less. You know the truth, and it is impossible to turn that light off. The hope is abundant. But then when you see other people that are ignoring that are wallowing in bullshit, that will absolutely fight you tooth and nail and prevent that hope from coming reality, you start wondering who your real enemy is. It ain't the Republicans, is it? It might be in our own midst. It might be in our own midst. And why is that? Because they love the struggle. They don't love the solution. And that's a sad truth. Anyway. So, Ellis, as far as the private debt goes,
yeah.
Okay, we as individuals, I think Milton Friedman, I think one of our previous discussion points, you had raised the idea that Milton Friedman's concept was that during the high times, we would pay off our debt. During the low times, we would go into private debt. And ultimately, that really pushed the financialization of our economy and ultimately exacerbated the wealth inequality in America and is therefore an unsustainable, I don't even know what they call it anymore. It's no longer a curve. I mean, it's almost straight up like this now. I mean, it seems like aside from the job guarantee, which is just the beginning point of ending income inequality and ending wealth inequality and repairing the wounds of 40 years of neoliberalism, there are some other things that have to occur as well. Can you talk about those?
Yeah. First, I don't know if it was me that said that about Milton Friedman. I did say that his idea was to advance the Nairu economy, where we forego fiscal policy in favor of monetary policy. And he used the quantity theory of money as an excuse for that, to scare everybody and convince everybody that we're all going to die if we have full employment. But as far as the job guarantee goes, there's a lot of misinformation out there that you see amongst laypersons or just the general public, the uninitiated. When they hear about the job guarantee, they get really excited. But they take some things about the job guarantee the wrong way. They seem to think of it. I've seen some people think that it's a silver bullet issue. Like, if only we had a job guarantee, everything would be wonderful. Okay. If only we did have a job guarantee, we'd experience wonderfulness. But not everything would be wonderful, because it's not a silver bullet. It's a necessary component in the progressive agenda. It's a very vital component for stability, to abolish involuntary unemployment and bring about full employment in perpetuity. It abolishes the effects of the business cycle on the worker, and it begins to help redistribute GDP back favorably and more fairly to workers' share. But it only begins to do that. There are other things that we need to do. We need universal health care. We need to look after our educational system, both primary and secondary. Secondary education, such as a university education, should be free of charge. Okay. We need to reduce the level of private debt in this country. Is ridiculous. But Australia, even more ridiculous than the US. I mean, that's just something else. That's a sight to behold. I mean, they've got some serious private debt issues there. So, but we have to address that. We have to get rid of the student loan debt. It's got to be dealt with. I mean, it's just got to go. We need infrastructure work badly. All right. We need to switch not only to sustainable output, but sustainable energy. All right. We've got so many things to do. Plus, we have to tax the damn rich. They need to be taxed because they're too damn rich. End of story. Okay, there's a lot of things that we need to do just besides the job guarantee. Job guarantee is not a silver bullet. It's just a step in the right direction. One of many steps in the right direction, but it's a vital intrinsic. It's like the core thing that we begin to repair things with, that we begin reversing. Okay, there's much more to do than just that.
Well, for me, I think, one of the struggles for me has been that I look at this and I think to myself, okay, if I'm not throwing money at payday lenders, if I'm not stuck borrowing money to pay my electric bill or to buy my bread, if I'm not stuck borrowing money, first of all, the cost of business is much lower when I don't have to buy it on credit. Second of all, I don't have interest to pay when I don't buy it on credit. And third of all, and maybe most importantly, I don't have that noose hanging around my neck when I buy it on credit, okay? And there does come a point where no matter how hard you work, you've run out of the available pieces of paper as a non-currency issuing entity, and you are now out of luck, and private credit dries up, and we hit another great recession. I mean, we're talking about verifiable science here. I don't know, I think over the course of the history of the United States, I don't remember all the exact details. I had it in my presentation the other night. The number of times that we tried to pay off the debt, the number of times we tried to reduce the deficit, et cetera, and how every single one of these frickin' times, every single one, there was a recession or a deep depression that occurred on the heels of it.
Yeah, there were seven.
Every single what's that?
We've had 7 surpluses in U.S. history, and shortly after each one, we've had an economic downturn. And the very last one was Bill Clinton's. There's empirical data to back this up. The United States has run deficits most of its existence, and like I said, only 7 times in U.S. history have we attempted a surplus, and each time we have, shortly thereafter, a downturn occur. And, that's it. End of story. It should tell you everything you need to know right there.
Why would you think that a progressive would sign on for such idiocy?
That's why I said, when your fathers and when your fathers and your grandfathers before you were absorbed by the Democrats during the Great Depression, and over this long course of history, have lost their left-wing identity and their taste for labor and their taste for organizing, the taste for being radical and militant, and instead are happy to now have a home called the Democratic Party. And over a course of so many years, they're told what to think, what to believe. Labor unions start to change the way they think. Oh no, the Democratic Party cares. Now it's got to the point of neoliberalism where the Democratic Party outrightly tells you we don't give a shit about working people. And what do the labor unions do? They stay with the Democratic Party. Why? Because who else is going to challenge the Republicans? They still believe the Republicans are their enemy. Okay? This is called, after a long period of brainwashing and letting the cult of the Democratic Party work on your brain. Okay? It leaves you with these, what have become traditional prejudices. And ever since Clinton, it's been a tradition of the Democratic Party to get rid of the deficit no matter what, because Republicans run them. So that's how you do economics. If the Republican
game is sick, isn't it?
if I don't like Steve Grumbine, he's my enemy.
I'm going to do the opposite.
And if he eats 3 times a day, by God, I'm going to throw up 3 times a day and I'm not going to eat. That's what I'll do. I'll just go to the toilet 3 times a day and gag myself, throw up, and I'll never touch another bite of food because that's the key to survival. It's just stupidity. It's dumb. Let's just do let's just do the opposite of what the Republicans do and we'll have a success. Yeah, that's a great job. Yeah, that's brilliant thinking. That's genius. All right? That's politics at its finest right there. Idiocy. What it really is neoliberalism trying to sell that nonsense to people. And they're like, please, sir, more, gruel. Oh.
Tiny Tim.
You know, and they just keep eating it. And I swear to Christ, these Democrats are just lost in a fog, you know. Well, ever since Clinton with this deficit fetish that they have in the Democratic Party for the last 25, 30 years. Look at it. Look at the result of that. You have got people who are progressive leftists, Bernie supporters, who hate the deficit as much as the liberals do because it's trickle-down voodoo nonsense. Even they believe in the traditional prejudices of the Democratic Party, and they no longer align with the Democratic Party.
You know, it's so bad when you look at the Business Insider article where Stephanie Kelton is interviewed, and she gave her written response about how the Clinton balanced budget or the Clinton surplus destroyed
the economy. Yeah.
Okay, folks, a Democrat, a former head, a Democratic budget committee chief economist for the Democrats wrote that we are still suffering the effects of the Clinton surplus. I hope you get this. The things that the Clintons did at the end of their term that so many Democrats decided was such a grand idea. And how dare you not back Hillary? Those same buffoonicusses think that somehow or another the economy was good. And they don't realize it was buoyed up by private credit, massive amounts of private credit, and, quite frankly, a disruptive technology in the internet, which happens, once a generation, if that, once every couple generations. And, you know, at the end of the day, you look and you can clearly see how it laid the groundwork for every problem we have. And mind you, it had been going on for a long time before that, but they went ahead and said, screw this, man. I'm going to take a shot of steroids and really wreck this fucker. And they really went crazy with it. I mean, so, yeah, whenever people sit there and wax on about the Democrats are better than this, that, and the other, I'm telling you right now, folks, I'm not here to defend either of them. They're both a pile of crap for different reasons. But I can assure you this, when it comes to economics, the idea of reducing the deficit, I don't care if Bernie Sanders says it. I don't care if Jill Stein says it. It is pure, unadulterated idiocy. All it takes is the most minimal amount of knowledge that accounting double entry. Private sector surplus is a public sector deficit. Public sector surplus is a private sector deficit by accounting identity. It's just that simple, folks.
Steve, if I give you $20, what do you have?
I have $20.
So what do I have?
You have no dollars.
Okay, there it is. I mean, how hard is that to understand? The government gives you $20, so it's negative 20, you're positive 20. Interesting, huh? I mean, this is basic math, okay? Really, it is that simple. It's basic math. It really is. I mean, we can get technical and say, okay, the currency that the government's issuing, all right, like the Federal Reserve note, for instance, you want to talk about paper, that's a liability of the central bank, okay? So it's a liability of the U.S. government. Liability, okay? It's a liability. It's not your liability. It's the government's liability, for fuck's sake, okay? My mortgage is not Steve's liability. I mean, what the hell? My mortgage, okay, my house, okay? My mortgage here is, it's just, why would I have to explain? It is so interesting that the average person can understand these things. My liability and your asset. But when it comes to the government, it's all liability. If the government's got a liability, it's my liability. Because we are the government, we the people. And if the government's contracted itself in debt, then it's signed our names on the dotted line of the mortgage too. I mean, what the? That's just stupid. My share's $45,000 of this debt, and I'll never be able to pay it. My children are going to shoulder the burden. So, since my children are going to shoulder the burden of this national debt, here's what we got to do. We got to get rid of health care. All right, we got to make it so that they can never get healthcare. So if they get sick, they're going to die, and we got to make sure they can never get a job. Yeah, so they'll never have a job, and they can be unemployed and sit in poverty. And we've got to put that burden of poverty and ignorance on them. Our children have to be burdened with poverty and ignorance, so they don't have to bear the burden of the national debt. I mean, hell, this is all idiocy. I mean. If this were not political, if this were just something like golf, people would say, yeah, it's a really stupid idea that guy had, wasn't it? What was his name? Bill Clinton? He wanted to run a surplus? God, that's stupid. But no, it's politics. Like, oh, I did the right thing. I hate me, Republicans. I'm just going to do the opposite. Darn rabbit. You know, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's like when he ran that surplus. Basically, what happened was now the neoliberal Democrats. They went before the public, and they had a huge pile of bullshit, cow patties like 80 feet high, giant mound that would rival the Pyramid of Giza. It's nothing but cow patty, right? And they pointed to the Republican Party and they said, Republicans are always talking about being financially responsible, about being fiscally responsible. And they always tell us about how they're going to run a surplus. But look at us. We built a pyramid of bullshit to the moon. Ours is bigger. We win. We're better. We've proven that Republicans aren't the party of fiscal responsibility. We are. We've proven they're hypocrites. You mean to tell me you destroyed the U.S. economy? A recession in 2002 and a global financial crisis to boot in 2008 that we still have not recovered from, and now we're in parts of the nation into depression again. We are a recession again. We've gone through all of this just so that you could show the world that Republicans won't do what they say they're going to do. Wow. Okay. That's your excuse. That's just fantastic. Okay. But we all know why the politicians in Washington did that. We all know why Larry Summers just loved the idea and Paul Rubin. We all know, Robert Rubin. We all know why. Because Wall Street paid for it. Wall Street asked for that deregulation. Wall Street asked for that surplus. Oh my God. Right on a silver platter too. Pushed out a tea trolley. Right, with a tea cozy and said, here you are, have another, you know, free of charge, there you go, have whatever you like. And they fucked us, and I admit it. That's it, end of story. So, you know, you've got leftists now. I hate using that term, but it's easier and faster. You've got leftists now that are wandering around who have left the Democratic Party forever and refuse to go back, who do not realize that they are still awash in the cult of the Democratic Party's thinking, neoliberal bullshit about deficit. They're deficit terrorists and they don't realize it. They've literally got recession bombs strapped to their bodies and they have no fucking clue they're about to go off. And each passing second they go, we gotta reduce the deficit. We gotta reduce the deficit. That's trickled down. Boom. Another recession. Boom. Another recession.
I mean, is it fair? Look, I want to take a kind of like a vote between you and I. Are they domestic economic terrorists, or are they domestic economic dullards, or are they both?
Who? The average person?
The average person that sits there and goes along with this bullshit, but also, and more importantly, the purveyors of it. Do you think these idiots actually know what they're doing? I do. Or do you think that they are, that's why I call them domestic economic terrorists.
Yeah, people that know what they're doing, like David Koch, is an economic terrorist. David and Charles Koch are economic terrorists. I would say, your average person, the way I look at the average person is more or less an unwitting participant. In other words, they got sucked up into the cult. They got sucked up into the cult's teachings, and the cult's called orthodox economics, or better yet, neoliberalism. Let's just call it what it is. The cult is neoliberalism. They got sucked up into it. They got brainwashed by it, and now they need to be deprogrammed. I mean, isn't that what you do? Isn't that what you do? When you've got a member of a cult that's escaped the cult and ran off and managed to escape the clutches, psychiatrists, don't they deprogram them when they're still very confused and, their thinking is still obtuse? Well, that's what these people, they need to be deprogrammed of their neoliberal thinking. And that's very hard to do. It's very hard to deprogram these people. But it becomes easier when they're starving to death. It becomes easier when they're homeless and the kids can't have clothes or shoes and they can't pay their bills, or they're so far in debt that they're about to become homeless, or they've lost their car to repossession. And then suddenly it's easier to deprogram these people.
The frustration for me really comes down to that at this moment in time, you see them throwing the term around, we got to take out the neoliberals. We got to get rid of the neoliberals, right? And they're already trying to find their next person they can fall in love with. And look, Tulsi Gabbard, she was a heck of a gal during the primary. She took a great chance in standing up to the DNC and helping Bernie out. But I haven't heard her economic plan. And I have definitely not heard her saying deficits don't matter. We need to go ahead and spend on the 99%. I haven't heard any of that. So why people are propping her up is it's kind of like being that really kind of fugly kid at the bar that is desperate for a date and will take the first one that comes up to them. They don't ask any questions. It's just like, oh my God, I'm finally going to get to go home with somebody tonight. And that is what I feel like. People are just jumping at the bit to try and get, hey, first, I was there first. I started supporting her first. I started supporting him first. I say, whoa, slow down, Kemosabe. Slow down, Simba. Wait a minute. Tell me about your economic plan. Are you here to enable a Green New Deal or a New Deal or whatever immediately? Or do you have a 40-year plan to get there? Because if you got a 40-year plan to get there, I'm not going to be around for it. I want it now. And it can be done now. So tell me about your now plan. And nobody does that. They're just like, don't bash Tulsi. Don't bash her. Don't bash Boyne. Don't bash Jill. Don't bash anyone. Instead of freaking caring enough about your own family to ask questions that really matter, regardless of where you end up voting, they're your servant. But yet you've got them up on a pedestal, lifted way high, and you're like saluting and you're worshiping. We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Idolatry at its finest.
I hate it. It makes me so freaking angry.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next superstar progressive, Tulsi Gabbard. Superstar. Okay.
That's it.
You know, and in the control room, you've got the people from the Democratic Party, or you know, that are responsible for creating her image, going, you're not laughing at all these people. You're a bunch of idolaters, man.
Absolutely. And this is the problem, right? Look, I may very well vote for Tulsi Gabbard someday, right? I might do that. I might vote for Bernie Sanders if he runs again someday. I might do that. I might vote for some person we've never even heard of someday. I just might do that. But I am going
to vote for Mike Norman.
I'm
going to.
I may vote for Mike Norman, exactly. But the bottom line is that I'm holding out, man. I'm not giving up the boot. I'm not giving up the cow for free milk without somebody buying the cow. I want to know for sure that they are planning to deliver this stuff. And the way I know that is if they don't say anything worthless like taxes. How are you going to pay for it? Well, we'll do this tax and we'll do that tax. And we'll, you know, hey, listen.
We'll be paid for by a very small tax on Wall Street transactions. Very small. Really? So you're telling me universal healthcare is really that cheap? Just a very small transaction, so it's cheap. Interesting. Then why the fuck have you not? Why don't we have it? And why haven't we had it for the last 35 years? Because it can be funded by a very small transaction tax.
So, I want everybody to be aware of this before we get into the next political cycle. I want folks to be very, very clear of this. Folks, I'm not easy, I'm not cheap, and I do ask questions. Do not tell me to support, don't tell me, throw me the next 2020 meme about your next messiah. If you haven't asked about their economic proposals and you want me to jump on board, you're barking up the wrong tree. So I expect when the next wave of hero worshipers come through, this is how Facebook acts. This is how people act. Oh my God, did he say something about Jill Stein's student loan plan? Well, I'm unliking the page. He said he said something bad about quantitative easing for the 99%? Something that can't happen. Oh, I'm unliking the page. He's a basher. I don't like that. That's awful. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's horrible. It's disgusting. It's worthless.
You just told me that quantitative easing is not printing money. You told me that it doesn't add net financial assets to the economy. I'm triggered. I've been triggered.
Exactly.
You have to. I can't. Where's my blanket? Blindness?
I mean, what? I don't get it. I mean, why is it so hard for folks to say, "Hey guys, you know what? We got through the Trump era. We've got to make sure that these people don't screw us." But you know what the Vote Blue sycophant will do? The Vote Blue sycophant will say, "What do you want, Romney? What do you want, McCain? What do you want, Bob Dole? What do you want?"
Bob Dole.
I'm Bob Dole. I'm Bob Dole. Bob Dole. Bob Dole's for Bob Dole. Bob Dole. I'm Bob Dole. I mean, you know, we've got to get to a point, folks, where if we don't demand this stuff, I'm serious right now tonight, and I'm going to keep saying it till the cows come out. I'm going to say it over and over again. If we don't sit there and bombard our politicians with truth, bombard the Green Party with truth, bombard the Democratic Party with truth, bombard the Republican Party with truth, don't listen to the bullshit, just bombard them straight on with the truth about our sovereign currency. If we don't bombard them with this stuff, you can pretty much guarantee that nothing's getting done. We might get one token thing, and it'll, of course, be pared down, watered down, and bullshit. But I can assure you, the same exact narrative in 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024, and on will always come back to how you're going to pay for it. And if you don't have a reason for the hope that lies within, you got no chance in hell. Period. Straight up. And we don't have time for that, folks. I promise you, we're trying to have a lighthearted joke, a little sarcasm here, a little condescension for the triggerable. But reality is that we are actively trying to explain to you how important all of this is. I am not building any party. I'm not arbitrarily throwing myself into a party to build the party. Folks, the truth is there. If you hear people that are saying ridiculously stupid stuff about the national debt, you know that you're in the company of people that mean to do nothing good for you. Not one good thing will come from them. Not one good thing will come from a deficit hawk. Not one. Nothing. It's very, very important you understand that if people say reduce the deficit, they are literally not your friend. They're a public servant, and they need to be brought down. They need to be educated. So anyway, Alice, I'll give you the last word.
Did I just see a thing go by, something about if we get the funding, can we get an MMT convention? Did I just see something?
Let's see.
It sort of got cut off there when I was reading it.
I don't see it, but it's possible. I don't see it, though.
Well, anyway, there is an MMT.
Oh, yeah. When we get some funding, can we have an MMT convention and start a real progressives party? Pretty pleased.
We have an MMT. We have an MMT convention coming up. It's the first international MMT conference. As a matter of fact, coming up the 21st through the 24th in Kansas City, Missouri.
Of September.
Or September, excuse me. It's September 21st to 24th in Kansas City, Missouri. So, and that's open to the public. It's not an academic conference. It's for activists and everybody who just loves MMT.
But hold on, I do want to say something. I want to answer Carmen's question exactly, though. So, as real progressives, we're the JV team, right? We're the grassroots guys here, right? We're out here activating at this stratum. There's other groups that are activating at this stratum, and then they're up here, the others, right? And so you will see as we develop Real Progressives further, we have a program management office that meets almost nightly that's working through building the structure of Real Progressives, from how the processes flow across the pillars to, you name it, all the knowledge areas that will be activating on MMT, from economic justice, environmental and ecological justice, equality with justice, peace with justice, democracy, health and nutrition, and, of course, technology and innovation, because we got to deal with the robots, right? So we got that. And then, of course, down the vertical, we have our policy pillar, where all those knowledge areas reside. Then we have our activism pillar. Then we have our education pillar, and then we have our media pillar. So our goal is to, in fact, have roving, traveling road shows where we will have conferences like Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Northwest, and Southwest, etc. And we will be doing things like this because while they're going to be talking solely about MMT, we're real progressives, and we do have a political bend. We're not just agnostic. We are fighting for New Deal America. We're fighting for New Deal Global. We're fighting for a global war. And so while they have a very specific, we're teaching you the nuts and bolts of MMT, we are doing the same, but we are also activating in a political forum as well. So the two, while they are very, very similar, are not one for one, because we have a specific bend that we're trying to reignite in this country. And we're not afraid to talk about it. So that's going to be coming. It's just a question of, exactly as Carmen said, getting the funds. So if you guys are not already contributing to our Patreon account, please, please, please help us. We do need it. Our goal is to get registered. We're going to have several legal entities. We're looking at a 501c3, a possible 501c4, and a possible LLC to go under one umbrella, so that we can handle the education, we can handle the activism, and we can handle the media. So all that is coming. We're looking at redesigning our website. We're looking at doing a host of things, upgrading the live streams, getting them more personalized, creating documentaries, you name it. So there's a ton that's going on, and we really do hope that we are able to do those things at a political level, at a grassroots level. And we are, in fact, partnering with people like the Modern Money Network, who are helping us educate us, raising our game to the next level, and so forth. So it's all one big giant family, folks. Anyway, there you go, Ellis. I'm going to let you close us out, sir.
The U.S. government's not broke by design. Look, I've said so much. I've even talked about Karl Marx this week too. I don't have anything to say really as a closing.
I did,
but I think that Steve might. I believe I would have something to say. Let me tell you, if this show hadn't been interrupted by the Rothschilds 3 times. But it's just got so confusing that, you know, like, stop, start. I'm like, I just lost my train of thought. I don't know who I am or what I am.
Well, let me put this out there as a as a plea to the people. So obviously, folks, if you are able to contribute to our Patreon site, it would be tremendously helpful. We've got legal expenses we're coming up against. We've got operation expenses in terms of technology and so forth. And of course, to be able to get us to cover different things and to be able to get us to do these great things, we require assistance there as well. Hopefully we'll be able to really ramp up our game and produce some really high quality content for you, continue bringing experts onto the show, etc. But really, as far as it goes, we're looking for your help as well. We need volunteers. We really desperately need video editors. We desperately need subject matter experts, people that have a passion. We're looking for diversity. If you haven't noticed, Ellis and I are white and we're men, and we're looking to change that paradigm a little bit. So we're looking for inclusion. We're looking to bring
partially white.
Well, Ellis, you're a very, very handsome man in your own right. But we're looking for diversity of gender as well, my friend.
Yeah, I'm Native American as well, you know.
Well, I am too, of course, sir. You know that, right? Pocahontas is down the trail. That's where all the darkness comes from. For real, honest to God.
I'm an Eastern Cherokee, and I'm this idiot, a scrawny English guy.
The two mixed, and they came up with like a Hershey. What do they call it? A Reese's peanut butter cup.
Came up with. I'm a nerdy, scrawny economist.
Nerdy sound. That's right. Oh my God!
I've been at this all night, giving Steve a cue here. No, he won't get it. He's just.
I missed it. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I forgot about that.
Yes, the scrawny economist. I'm the scrawny UK economist that lives in the US, and I'm a Native American, very scrawny.
All right. Well, look, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll end it on this note, folks. We really, go to our page. There is a sign up bar there. We desperately need volunteers. We need people that are interested in live streaming. We need people that are interested in writing. We need people that are interested in doing grunt work and helping us. Logistics, setting up. People that are willing to do the administrative side of things. Look at Sir Ellis breaking out the risky business glasses. But we desperately need help. So anybody that is willing and has skills and is willing, what is that Napoleon Dynamite? Girls love guys with skills, like nunchuck skills, hunting wolverines and stuff like that. So we definitely need help wherever you can. So without further ado, I'm going to thank Ellis for tonight and your cool guy glasses. And I will thank you all for sticking with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Thank you all very much, and have a great night.